given the production levels of the country. We didn't have accurate information for these type of things. So what we used as proxies for the demand are the total imports in terms of value for the main three categories of food. Then you will have also further protections for kids. This was the first step. Now the second step was if you identify revenue potentials, how can you identify targets for prices and quantities? We say, for instance, that Portugal can increase its exports to Spain by 1,000, by 1 million, let's say, euros. Okay, how can I do that? This will be my strategy. Okay. Now, in the literature, we have to, according to the literature, we have to consider whether we are talking about perfect competition in the market or not. There are many models developed for such cases, but they are referring to perfect competition. But in reality, we never have perfect competition. And what's happening in these cases? There are other models, semi-parametric models, that either they assume an exact functional relationship between the price and the quantities, or they introduce some additional constraints deriving from the personal preferences of the decision maker. Of course, in such case, we may have bias. So what we did, we developed a new method, a fully non-parametric method, in order to decompose revenue potentials into price and quantities. I will not go into the technical details of this method. I will just show some indicative results. Here we have some results for rubber and plastic. Now, in EEA countries, we see that we can achieve these revenue potentials with an increase in price and a decrease in quantity. This looks okay, seems fine. Okay. However, for the rest groups, we identify that we can achieve these potentials by increasing both prices and quantities. Initially, this looked was really strange. How can we convince a market to buy more items and at higher prices? Doesn't look very reasonable. But here we have to think that price is a proxy for quality. And actually the data we have are averages of the prices in each category. So saying that you have to increase both price and quantity, it means that based on what Portugal is already achieving in other markets, it would increase its revenue by exporting footwear of higher quality. And if it does that, then the sales will also increase. And the same holds for the third group. Now, I will come to the overview. Do these results make some sense? Well, in France, and we had panel data, as you saw before, from 2011 up to 2018. So, in France and Spain, we noticed a gradual decrease of the revenue efficiency over the last years. And actually, this is in line with some complaints that the Portuguese footwear industry had for these countries, that things are not going so well in these countries. And this is something that the model managed to capture. We noticed an increase in the revenue efficiency of the US. And indeed, the last years, the Portuguese footwear industry is trying a lot to penetrate into this market. Denmark has a really high revenue efficiency. And this is explained because one of its main factories actually dislocated in Portugal. So we see here that our results can be interpreted, at least from the Portuguese footwear industry, either in terms of complaints or things going well. And we also identified different price quality strategies that Portugal could employ in order to increase its exports to these countries. Of course, it's not perfect. Nothing is ever perfect. The issues like Australia and New Zealand have the lowest proximity. They are really far away from Portugal. So we don't have any other countries at this distance to compare with. So we don't have any empirical evidence actually to rely on and to have more robust results for these two countries. Another issue that the Portuguese footwear industry had asked us and we could not answer is, could we further push the frontier, or at least for US? US, the exports towards US are revenue efficient. And they still want to penetrate even more. And they were asking us, can we go even further? This is something we do not know, we cannot answer, because we still don't have any data from it. And this work actually was recently published in Omega Journal, International Journal of Management Science. It has an impact factor above 8. If you want, you can download it, read it, check more technical issues also. And of course, if you have questions, you can always contact me. So, thank you for your attention.
Just more observation. In that gravity equation, why is that the distance between the two countries is in denominator? In this world of globalization, is there a need to revisit this particular aspect?
Well, actually, here we're taking the geographical distance of the two countries
Yes.
regarding the two capitals. Okay. Of course, this geographical distance does not really reflect the real distance that these countries have, okay, because there are specific routes that they ship the cargo and everything.
Yes.
So, but however, the distance can be always used as a proxy for transportation costs. Okay. It's easier to send something from Portugal to Spain rather than to send something from Portugal to Australia, okay, or to India, for instance. Okay. So distance should be the denominator because it reflects transportation costs. Okay. And not only transportation costs, but also sometimes cultural differences, okay, which may create issues in communication. However, here we use, as I told you, the geographical distance between the two capitals. If someone wants to be even more accurate, he should check the routes for trading between these two countries. Okay? Or he will even take into consideration the exact amount of transportation costs. Then he will have an even better picture. But we didn't go to this way because we thought that it will not really change the results.
Sure. Thank you.
We were discussing variables, like for example, this product strategy, price, form size, international experience, and there are other external factors like legal, political, environmental. Do we have this numerical data on these variables in this analysis?
No, actually, this is about the literature when we're talking about expansion to new geographical markets. Okay. Our case study belongs here, expansion within existing markets. Okay. So because Portugal is already exporting to many countries, so we focused only in the countries that Portugal is already exporting. We didn't check if it can go penetrate into new markets. So we didn't rely on these variables, but we relied on the gravity equation. But instead of using regression analysis or stochastic protein analysis, we employed DA.
Because if I speak about India, we have religious issues or barriers. When we talk about leather industry.
Yeah.
So where do we consider that factor?
Well, it could be somehow legal, maybe. I'm not sure. I cannot answer it because this is just an indication about the variables that they're using in this type. It's not something that we really work for this. I just describe it here just for the sake of completeness.
When we compare that data of exports, especially in leather, earlier government we had more free trade, but now the current situation it has certain barriers related to others.
Then you can take them into consideration. You can use some variables that reflect these trading barriers. Okay, numerical values, yes. Or you can have some integer variables that continues, just reflecting somehow the level of the trading barrier.
Can I comment on this? Actually, what you said was what we covered in this, because the underlying assumption of both of this is that we want to expand. So when you want to expand, you consider that the environment in which you are from where you are exporting is constant. So we don't consider the change of the point from where it is exported. So this legal factor or political factor is about the country which is going. Yes, but in the expansion, because we are talking about the new geographical markets, we are not talking about the market in which the production is.
Yeah. Thank you for.
Excuse me,
Yes.
can we use structural modeling analysis for the same data?
For the same data, actually because we already have data, we have empirical data, I will go for more quantitative analysis. But if you do not have data, if you are not already exporting, then using structural regression analysis would be good. And that's why uh, here, for instance, they are not using such methods.
Sir,
Yes?
there is doubt. There is a requirement of the males and females variable on the demand of the footwear.
Males, females?
They are the demand of different types. Like number of pair of shoes for females are larger than set of the
But the huge
Okay.
It's a Q&A session now, so no problem.
Oh, just please continue.
Could you please repeat the question? Okay, we check demand as a whole of the country. We don't go deeper inside to check the proportion of males and females. So we see it as a total at the country level. We need more data, and we didn't have much data on that. We didn't even have reliable data for the production of each country. And that's why the data that we use are the imports that the countries have from the whole world. Okay. As a proxy for the demand of these countries. It was really tough from 80 countries to have accurate data about the production levels and further segmentize items in terms of gender, age, and stuff. It would be nice to have this data, but it was really, really tough.
Thank you.
These days it could also be like there are people who would prefer to wear women's clothes or men would prefer so it's kind of more complicated. Money is the easier solution in this case.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
May I please request Honorable Vice Chancellor sir to kindly present a law of token to Mr. Demetro. Bishop, please come. Thank you, sir. We have Dr. Yash Chavla, he's the General Chair of ATBI Series and Assistant Professor of Innovation and Marketing Management and a member of Academia at the Europa University. He also served as R&D Communication Advisor at DAC Digital Holland. Dr. Yash has an interdisciplinary background in engineering, computer applications, and business administration, which enables him to work at the intersection of emerging technology, business, and society. He has published over a dozen Scopus Index publications and has built a strong global research network. Dr. Yash is also an accomplished trainer and public speaker and has trained over 75,000 students, teachers, and professionals till date. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together, and I would like to welcome Dr. Yash for the session.
Good morning, everyone. I've been told to keep it brief, so I will run through my presentation. Right, so the study that I'm presenting, we did together with Anya and actually 14 other colleagues. We started off with 15 people. In the end, by the time we submitted the paper, 5 of them dropped out, or we made them drop out because they were not working, which was a very important scientific learning, how to get rid of ghost authors who are renowned people, but they don't want to write, but just want to give their names. So if you are a young researcher, you have to be aware of such people. And if you want to know how to get rid of them, you can contact me. In this particular study, we had other colleagues, as I mentioned, from Aarhus University, Denmark, University of California, Berkeley. We had from Italy, from Iceland, from Brazil, all the way to China and Germany. So it was a very multicultural team that we had. And the motivation to do this study was everybody was writing something about COVID, so how can we miss out? So the fear of missing out was how we started. And this whole survey was actually planned within 3 to 4 days. So we made a lot of mistakes also on the way, which kind of hurt us from our dream of publishing it in Nature to getting it to just the Elsevier journal with impact factor of 7.5. So it was very disappointing in the end, but we were able to get some really, really interesting results. And very, very interesting data on the way, of course, apart from the scientific learning. So what was happening during the early stages of the pandemic was that some experts actually were fearing fake news to be a bigger threat to us, humanity, than the COVID-19 pandemic itself. The reason for it was at some point of time, probably COVID-19 pandemic will go away, but this trend of fake news was actually accelerating faster than the pandemic. And there were several agencies across the world who raised alarms regarding this. And the thing was, nobody knew what to do at that point in time. The reason was that the information was so fluid that if I say something which World Health Organization is saying today might be false tomorrow. So it happened with our survey that we had a question whether we should wear a mask or not. So when we started the survey, WHO was saying that you should wear a mask. And then they said, no, you should not wear a mask because it would increase the chances of infection. And then again, it said that you should wear a mask. So even the world's elite agencies were not sure of what to do. So in that case, there is a lot of, I should say, fuel for people who want to spread misinformation to run their rockets to any planet they want. What we decided to see is that because one of the major causes of this misinformation has been social media or internet in general, because anybody, any part of the world would just take a cell phone and write whatever they want and that would go viral. And there have been several instances in the literature which kind of show that if you are talking about fake information or misinformation, it spreads faster than the actual information. So if you write something which is not true, or if you write something which is debatable, then what basically happens is people start to debate on it, and once people start to debate on it, its reach increases. Whereas if you write something which is basically right, then people might just like it. They might not comment on it. They might not start a discussion on it. So then what happens is it doesn't have as much reach as fake information because people are debating and fighting what is right and what is wrong. So what we were looking at is taking sources of information as a predictor of people's knowledge. But then we looked at how are we going to judge the source of information itself? So then we looked at the perceived credibility of a person. So if I am looking at Facebook, when I look at Facebook or information on Facebook, whether that information, do I perceive it credible or not credible? So that we took that as one of the basis of the predictors towards the public knowledge that we had, and then once the public knowledge was assessed, then we said if somebody has knowledge about COVID-19, how would they behave or what kind of opinions do they have? So this is the basic structure that we came up with. I will show you in a second. So then there were two research questions, as I mentioned. First, we wanted to see the perceived credibility of people's perception of the sources, information sources, and associated with the knowledge. And the second was about this knowledge and how it is associated with the opinions and the behavior. Now the question comes, how are we going to assess the knowledge? So there, because COVID-19 or coronavirus SARS-CoV-2 was something new, it was something new to all of us. So to assess that, there was no particular construct in the literature. So if I want to assess, say, your perception about green energy, for instance, so you can probably find some construct in the literature, so I can just use those set of established questions, and if I ask it in a survey to all of you, I can say that you have certain level of knowledge about it. But we had a tough task because we had to create such a thing. So we created something called CPK, COVID-19 Perceived Knowledge Index. And probably this was the most difficult thing to do because we had to come up with a set of questions which can actually measure your knowledge about COVID-19 or public's knowledge about COVID-19. So we took the World Health Organization's website as the reference point, and we basically created this CPK using 3 sets of questions. One was about the general knowledge of COVID-19, the other one was about the knowledge regarding how to prevent the infection of COVID-19, and the third one was myths and facts about COVID-19, which WHO was trying to circulate in the society or make people aware about it. And then we created this framework. Don't worry, I know it's small. Just showing you that there were 3 sides. I will go to individual sides so that would kind of help. So on the left-hand side, we had the predictors, which were predicting the CPK, and on the right-hand side, we had the outcomes of this CPK. Now, going to the left-hand side, so first, as I mentioned, one of the things was about the perception of the sources. But apart from that, we were also looking at the use of social media itself, that how many social media platforms did they use, or how much time did they spend on social media, and also a very interesting factor which gave us very interesting result, which I will show you in a moment, that number of cases, COVID-19 cases, which took place, which existed in the country in which the person was living, in the country, probably if I'm living in Poland, but I'm Indian. So for me, the number of cases in India and number of cases in Poland and number of global cases, all of these 3 factors could have an impact on whether I want to get knowledge of COVID-19 or not. And we got very interesting results, which I will show you. And on the right-hand side, as the outcome of CPK, we were checking the behavior in terms of whether people were saying that they practice social distancing behavior, or whether they were willing to help somebody who was infected with COVID-19, or whether they wanted to just run to the grocery store and buy the whole grocery store and store it in their house. One of the funny things that happened, okay, not so funny, but maybe something funny, that happened was the first thing that disappeared from at least in Poland, first thing that disappeared from the supermarket shelves were toilet papers. So as soon as these things started that there will be lockdown and stuff, toilet papers disappeared and people just stocked up like half a room full of toilet paper in their house. Exaggerating a little bit, but just to give you a picture of it. Then willingness to help people or volunteer to help people who are quarantined and so on. So these were all the behaviors or the outcomes, behaviors and opinions that we were looking about the knowledge of COVID-19. Now coming to data collection. So we spent probably less than 10,000 or not even 10,000 actually, 5,000 Indian rupees to do this whole research, like in total, which included us to create a questionnaire which had 76 mandatory questions, 15 additional conditional questions, and 2 open-ended questions. So mandatory questions has the variables with the CPK, then we were asking them about the social media platforms, their perception about credibility, non-credibility, their demographics. Then additional questions were like if somebody was studying, then we would ask them about how was the online teaching going on and so on. So there are a lot of variables that we have not yet used in the study that we have published. And then there were 2 open-ended questions where we asked them whether they wanted to give some opinion about to the government or they would advise the government. And you'll be surprised that it took about 29-30 minutes for people to actually fill out the whole questionnaire. But yet they will have time to sit and write half page or sometimes 1.5, 2 pages of text to these open-ended questions, which again we have not yet used. So we do have a lot of scope of using the data had collected in the early stages of the pandemic. We received 15,552 responses from 121 countries, making it an actual global study. And this whole questionnaire was translated in 27 different languages for free. If you go to this website I can share the link later. If you go to this website, the names of each of those people, wherever the questionnaire has been translated, is there. And we spent probably setting up the questionnaire was done within 2 weeks of since we had this questionnaire done. So all of these things were done for free within 2 weeks of us thinking that we are going to do this survey. So networking in research can take you a long way in doing things when you don't have resources, because the major resource comes from involvement of people. Right, so data collection, okay, because I already talked about it, I can skip this. So for the first part of looking at the predictors of CPK, we used multinomial regression model. I'm not an expert on data collection, data analysis. Anya here is there, so if there's any question, I'm glad she's here. I was afraid that I will have to answer data analysis questions. And the outcomes on the, say, assessing the right-hand side of CPK, we had 9 multinomial logic models, 2 logic models, and 1 multiple regression model to see how was the impact of CPK on various outcome variables that we had decided. Now coming to the most interesting part of the results. So the way this is interpreted is that there are 3 levels of this. So when you see red in the credible section, that basically means that if somebody had trusted national TV to be credible as compared to non-credible, then they had lower knowledge of COVID-19 or CPK. They had lower CPK. And if you see something green, that means if somebody considered this as credible, like TV news as credible, as compared to non-credible, then they had higher level of CPK. So here, the interesting thing was that when newspaper, radio, and TV news were considered to be credible, people had higher knowledge of COVID-19 as compared to the social media or just talking with people who are our friends and colleagues who might also not have the right information. So those sources, if they were considered to be credible, then people had lower levels of CPK. Now, as I mentioned, we did make a lot of mistakes, and at a certain point of time, we had to clarify it, and we had to put a lot of effort in clarifying it, because even though we did a pilot study, if you look at national TV and TV news, so when we were making the questions, our perception was national TV is a government, say DD National, say in India, and TV news would be, say, Aaj Tak or something like that. But for people's perception, it might not be like that because it's not clear, right? So at some point of time, when we do this, we have to clarify that in the paper. So it's small things compiled to it becoming maybe not as valuable as it should have been after all the effort that we put in. And you can see that on the right-hand column, there is something that is neutral. So here in the first column, it's people perceiving that it is credible. So any information that I get from here, I should accept it. And on the second, I'm like, they're still undecisive. But even if people are undecisive, you can see that about social media or discussing with people here, then they have basically less knowledge of COVID-19. So what this result shows is that if you get information from these sources, you have to perceive it as non-credible and question it. If you do that, then you will probably go and verify it from the proper sources. Then you would have the right information. Now going to, again, to social media. Now here, one of the interesting results was that LinkedIn, if people perceive the information coming from LinkedIn as neutral, neither credible nor non-credible, but it's considered as a point of where you can start thinking whether such things is right or wrong, and such information exists or not, or such information is credible or not, then they actually ended up having higher knowledge of COVID-19. And Reddit was, have you ever used Reddit? Anybody? No? It turned out that, anybody use it? So it turned out that Reddit, people who considered information on Reddit to be true actually had higher CPK. So this was also an interesting result, because this was the only social media that, when considered to be credible, people had higher knowledge of COVID-19. Coming to the official sources, as you can see, government website had no significant effect. One of the reasons that we think this is there is because some people think government is corrupt, some people think government is good, depending on who is the ruling party and who is in the opposition. So in some cases, you can just nullify the effect based on half of the people saying yes, half of the people saying no. probably this is our perception of it. Of course, family doctors, as you can see, family doctors or World Health Organization website, they gave higher knowledge of, they had higher knowledge of COVID-19 when they were perceived as credible. This WHO website was kind of a confirmation variable as well, because if this would be negative, then there was something really wrong with the study. Because if you are taking COVID-19 information from WHO as a reference, and if people saying that we go to WHO website and get the information, if that is considered to be lower knowledge, then there is something wrong. And you can see search engines, Googling how is COVID-19 or what to do probably would not have given you the best information. And one of the good things that actually came out of this, in terms of any, in terms of search engines or in terms of social media, was that after a certain period of time, I think it was, if you consider February, March 2020 to be like the point where this began to explode, to the point of, say, April or May, what was done by these social media platforms or these search engines was that when you have certain keywords, or when you're posting about certain keywords on social media, then automatically, by default, there would be a link to the local government's website of the COVID-19 which they had established, which was there along with the post. Or if you are searching for the search engine, say if you are in Roorkee, probably the first two results will be Uttarakhand government and government of India. Then all the other results will come. So what this basically did was they did not filter the information, but they gave you the primary information which was perceived to be credible in that circumstances, and then all the other results were actually coming as they were used to come before. Again, there are some other things like multitasking was supposed to increase your CPK, the knowledge. What do I mean by multitasking? Using multiple sources of information rather than just one source of information. So if you're using social media, use multiple sources of information and see if the same information is existing on all social media platforms, then probably that information is correct. There were other things that were perceived, like we found in the literature that there are some things that can be done to safeguard yourself from misinformation. For example, adopting suspicious behavior towards any information that you get, or questioning the sender that what is the source of information from where you have sent this information, or cross-referencing with other sources or discussing with friends and family. So all of these things are like can safeguard you from misinformation in any case, not just in a crisis, but in any case. Considering government messages, discussing with parents, colleagues, and so on. So all of these were considered to be good towards having higher knowledge of COVID. And then discussing on social media contacts or discussing on social media posts was considered to be not so good. WhatsApp was definitely not good. When we consider the controls here, as I was mentioning, there was an interesting result in terms of the number of COVID-19 cases. So what does this show is the number of COVID-19 cases in the country of residence. If the number of cases in the country of residence were high, then people had higher CPK. Whereas the number of global cases had a negative impact on it. So what it basically meant is, if you combine these two results, it meant that if the number of COVID-19 cases, say in Europe and America, are skyrocketing, but in India there is nothing much, then you wouldn't care to know about what COVID-19 is. But if the number of global cases were very, very low, but in India, if the number of cases were skyrocketing, then you would want to know what COVID-19 is. So it basically means is if something is happening close to me, then I'm afraid of it and I want to know about it. But if something is happening in another part of the world, I am not afraid of it. I'm like, okay, happening in the other part of the world. But this is another learning that we got. Most of the governments were actually not prepared by looking, oh, it's happening in China, let it happen. Lots of things happen in China. And then it got to Italy and spread across Europe, and nobody knew what to do initially. And then we imposed lockdowns, and then we built policy, we had all these emergency actions that were taken. Another interesting thing that we found was that people who had higher education were having higher knowledge of COVID, which was kind of interesting because sometimes it is debatable. Okay, now coming to the other side of the COVID. So now we have seen what are the factors that affect the levels of CPK, and now we see if you have higher knowledge of CPK, or if you have lower knowledge of CPK, how does your behavior, or how does, I say your, I mean as an individual, I don't mean yours directly, I mean as public knowledge. Okay, so we are talking about stocking of groceries. So here there is 1, 2, and 3. So these are the CPK dependent variable category 2 in the first column and 3 in the second column. So what it basically means is, so second column, people who are neutral as compared to disagreeing with it, and the third category is people who agree as compared to who disagreed with the answers. So when people had higher knowledge of COVID-19, or people's action of having stocking up groceries was associated with lower knowledge of COVID-19. So if you had lower knowledge, you wanted to stock up the groceries because you were more afraid of it. And then people who were willing to volunteer, also you can see this in green. So people who had higher knowledge were willing to volunteer to help people because they knew what COVID-19 was, and perhaps if you have proper protection, you would not get infected of it. So you can see the people in quarantine or with elderly people, they were willing to help. Interesting factor with this was also practicing social distancing behavior was associated with higher knowledge of COVID-19. Imposing travel bans, so people who actually agreed to travel bans were the people who were having higher knowledge of COVID-19. So when you know about something, you are able to support the decisions that were taken because they were the most optimum decisions at that point of time that could be taken. So again, here if you recover from COVID-19, will you be immune? So people were neutral because this is the result that we would want to see. Because if you agree to it, then you cannot have the knowledge of COVID-19 because nobody actually knew that what would happen, what would be the immune response. Because somebody got infected with COVID-19, recovered in 7 days or 8 days, and then maybe got infected again. But if I'm answering it during the early stages of the pandemic, now we know that we can get infected again. But at that point in time, probably people didn't know. Right, so nobody was satisfied with government's response to COVID-19 when they had higher knowledge. So people were also scared of COVID-19 when they had lower knowledge. And going to the other side of it, people who had higher knowledge of COVID-19 said that there will be positive impact of the pandemic. Also willingness to advise the government was insignificant in the end. The perception of expected impact, we had 12 items and things, so percepted impact was more towards high impact of this, so there will be a new normal in short, so people who had higher knowledge were in favor of there will be a new normal or business as usual, which might not be the case. Right, so just coming to summarize the main findings of this survey. So personal perception of the sources played a huge role. So if you consider Facebook, Instagram, and such platforms or such engines, such platforms to be credible, then probably you will have lower knowledge on certain topics. Resorting to more than one platform, or 3, 4 to 5 different platforms, would increase the probability of you having the right knowledge about something or right information. Open discussion on social media is the worst thing that can happen if you want to know about something. And just this is one of the main reasons, as I mentioned in the beginning, of the fake news spreading quickly, is because when you don't agree with something, you want to go and comment and say that you don't agree. So it is better to ignore that post, not to interact with the post, rather than saying that you disagree, because by saying that you disagree, you are actually helping it to reach more people. Offline discussions are more constructive. Global number of cases, if something is happening in the other part of the world, it might impact you as well. So it's good to get information about those things which are happening in other parts of the world as well. And if you have higher knowledge about something, then you are more likely to behave in a way that could curb an emergency. So that is something that we should desire to have, better knowledge about things that are happening around us. So this is the paper that we published, as I mentioned, with 10 authors in the end, and it's in Journal of Information Processing and Management. It has a pretty good impact factor of 7.4. Of course, none of us were actually really happy because we spent 1.5 years dedicatedly working on this. At least this was one of the biggest projects that I initiated or ran. Of course, with support from Anna, she's always been supportive, like, yes, and then of course the boss sitting here. So future research can be about similar things in bots. Now we also have ChatGPT, so it's easier to write fake information in a more attractive way. So that is also something that is that we can that is for the scope of research. Fact checking. So Facebook or these social media agencies now employ. So they pay some businesses to check the information on their platform, and then the business who's getting paid by them agrees to their policies. So it's like your boss paying you to review boss's paper, something like that, yeah? So now you can see how the fact checking goes on these days. Replications of such studies we can in different conditions can also be something. Okay, and then if you are interested to collaborate, this is my LinkedIn. Of course, this is not my LinkedIn, this is the QR code to my LinkedIn. So I invite you to connect, and if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
While finding out the gap before starting the study, what type of literature?
We reviewed the literature of previous pandemics, so like for instance, the smaller viral outbreaks, what happened, how did people respond to it. But to be honest, this was a very unique condition where you will probably look at different studies of how certain things or misinformation is spread or how people safeguard yourself from misinformation. But this was a very unique moment in the history. So the last time probably when it happened was 100 years ago, and we didn't have internet. So when you talk about the literature, it was only existing about smaller instances, say Ebola outbreak in Africa or some other diseases, but it was not a global phenomenon. So we did look at health literature. We looked at fake information or diffusion of information literature and so on. But there was, I mean, anything we would do was in the gap. So that is why you could see that during 2020 and 2021 there were so many papers that were published in regarding COVID-19 because everybody knew that first come first serve policy. So even in some of the nature journals, they published in 7 days. From the time from submission to making it online was 7 days. And then in the scientific community as well, of course, most of the papers were actually made open access by most of the journals by default without any payments as well. So this was something that was agreed to fast science, but then a lot of papers were retracted later. So fast science is not necessarily good science. That was also concluded, but a lot of papers got through in really good journals, which are very simple papers. But again, they fall in the gap because it's something new. And another thing that we were very slow with it. We published this. We submitted it to Nature Human Behavior, Science Mag, Nature again, and like 7 or 8 journals. There were like small differences that we had with the editor at each time, because of which they didn't want to take. They were like, really, oh, it's a huge data, nice data. We can do something. Let's discuss. And then they would ask some questions, and then we might not have some answers for it. So there were a lot of things that we learned doing this. But we were, in the end, because of the large consortium, probably we were a bit slower to get this paper out in a good journal, in a better journal than this one. So that's a regret, but it was worth it to do this for us because, as I mentioned, we learned a lot, which has helped us in future studies.
One of the things what we see, like in some countries, the education level is low, like literacy rate is low. In some, like UK and US, literacy is high. But the number of cases are more there as compared to these some also not as well. So is there is something related to finding some kind?
So the country, the nationality, individual country was not considered. What we considered was the knowledge level of the respondents in general. So in the regression model, we observed that people having higher knowledge was associated with higher knowledge of COVID-19. The reason was that we had about 20, we had difference in terms of the number of survey responses from each country. So for instance, in Brazil it was 3,000, in Poland it was 2,000, in India it would be like 600-700, and in some countries it was like just 200. And then there were other countries where there was only like 50 responses. So in literature there is an interesting study which says that if you have 8 or more countries where you have certain number of data, then you can consider it as a global study. So what we concentrated on was internet users only. So when we consider the access to the internet, that probably could have been a variable that we could have added, that a country from where the response has come, the amount, say, the diffusion of internet in that country could have been another control variable which could have helped. But educational level and these things would have made it even more complicated. Because if you notice the coefficients that we have had they are already very small. So adding more control variables would have actually made it even more smaller. So because there were so many variables, that's why and then there were so many responses and so many variables, that's why the coefficients are already very small.
Because if you want to take the same data and do country-wise analysis or cross-country analysis, would it be possible because you said 500 for Malaysia and 3,000 for Hong
Yes, it would be. It is possible. You can just take the weights and do it, right, Arun? We can do that. But we cannot use the same variables that we have already used. But we do have other variables like.
It depends, if we have answers for the same, for a particular question from, let's say, 3 different countries, then we could do it. Of course, there is a kind of a bias that the samples are not equal. It would be perfect if they would be equal, of course. But in that case, as Yash mentioned, we could try to use a kind of a trick with some weights, like describing the variety in the sample.
The data smoothing could be done and then
Yeah.
consider for.
Yes, but like for instance, if we consider Poland and Brazil, what are the reasons why we are considering Poland and Brazil? Because from a publisher or from a scientific standpoint, that it's very important to have a justification of why two countries are compared. So we had this in one of the research projects that we submitted. We selected 10 countries based on some indicator, and then the reviewers were like, "Why this indicator?" And we had no answer for it. So comparing probably would be more difficult, but doing a similar kind of analysis with different questions in the different variables that we have had, so that is something that we have considered doing. And also another thing that we are thinking of doing when we will probably get a bit free from other projects that we are doing is with this data that we have in terms of the textual data, and looking at what they wanted to give an advice to the government, and then looking at their behavior or looking at their CPK levels might give us also some interesting results. So we have discussed it with a couple of machine learning experts on how to do it, but then we got into other projects. So there are a few things that we still want to do with the data. That's why we have not published it, because it's a unique point of time. It's like a snapshot in the history, which would probably not be the same at any point of time. Because this was done between March 2020 to April 2020, about 23 to 24 days. So it's a unique point of time, so data will remain unique even after 10 years.
So like, as you have mentioned that you have created a series of questions and you have conducted a survey from different countries. So my question is that like, how you have identified certain questions that will going to affect your CPT?
So this was based on reviewing the literature and looking at some of the things that were, say, affecting the spread of fake news, or some of the actions that are recommended in the literature of how to safeguard from fake news, or what other types of control variables that would have an effect on our results. So we basically looked at the literature and then we found these questions. But the CPK itself, it was a debate among us that how we are going to measure the knowledge, because there was no fixed construct in the literature of how we can measure that knowledge. So that was something that we started off with 27 questions. In the end, we had 26 questions that we collected the data on. But then the one question with the mask, we had to remove it because, as I mentioned, that it was like 1 week into the data collection, the WHO changed its stance, and then 2 weeks again, they changed its stance. So we do have that data as well. That variable can also be used in certain sense that, for instance, the first 7 days, because we have the dates of the responses and the date on which the information was changed. So it can be used in a way that for first 7 days, people are responding and say whether they should wear a mask or not, right? And then the information changed, and then we can see how much time did it take for certain part of information or people to change their opinion. So it is still, it can be still used, but we have to remove from it because then it could create a bias from this. So those 25 questions, in the end, we just decided, as I was showing you these 3 things that would probably give us a good indication of the knowledge, these 3. And then we just went to WHO's website and found out all the information that they wanted to give. and those were converted to variables. So that is how we constructed this CPK. And the rest of the things basically came from the literature looking at previous studies. Some of the things were also, we put it based on what was happening. Like remote working was not something that was very prominent before the COVID-19 pandemic, but then this really became a thing. So we included a question that if somebody is working in a certain kind of job, then were you allowed to work remotely? Were you given enough resources to work remotely? So these are like some intuitive questions. So we did put some intuitive questions as well. So in the end, for this particular analysis, the variables that we used were the variables that we had found from the literature, most of them apart from the CPK. And now we are still having these intuitive variables on which we have collected data. So we had framed a few things to how to do it, but then when you collect data in a larger consortium, it takes time for you to come to consensus on how to use that data.
Thank you so much.
May I please request Dr. Manish Sethi to kindly open up now and gratitude to Dr. Sharma. To continue further with the roundtable discussion, may I please invite Dr. Sethi. Before that, we will be briefing the plenary talk sessions which were held from yesterday. Thank you, sir.
Once again, very warm welcome to all present here. So just to brief about the conclave, we started yesterday with the inauguration of this function, followed by various plenary talks by the eminent speakers. So to start with, Professor Rafael Warren, he gave a plenary talk on recent advances in electricity price forecasting for informative, and which was very informative and engaging. He discussed the challenges of forecasting electricity prices, including the impact of weather, market dynamics, and regulatory changes. He also presented some case studies and examples of how these techniques have been applied in industry to improve the forecasting accuracy and reliability. The lecture, it explored the state of art of forecasting models in the field of electricity price forecasting. And very importantly, he has shared one information with us that there is one postdoc position in one of the NCN Poland funded project. So I request all my colleagues just to go about this proposal, and we can move ahead during roundtable discussions also. So next was the plenary talk by Professor Katerina Warren about social agent-based modeling of innovation diffusion. No, now it was Professor Katerina Warren talked on agent-based modeling of innovation diffusion, and it was thought-provoking and informative. Further, she announced that an effective utilization of such models, an attempt can be made to capture the interactions between people, things, places, and time as a collection of autonomous decision-making entities or agents. Few research papers were also showcased to focus the current research in the field of agent-based modeling. Professor Warren also applied his techniques to the field of innovative diffusions, which is the process by which new ideas and technologies are adopted and spread through a network. Through her presentation, She demonstrated how agent-based modeling can be used to better understand the factors that influence innovation diffusion, including the role of network structure, social dynamics, and external factors, etc. Then we had a plenary talk by Professor Anna Kolaska. The lecture delivered by Anna, who is an associate professor of management science, diffusion and innovative Department of Operations, Research and Business Intelligence. Now, she enlightened our audience about the frameworks that help to monitor and minimize the energy consumption of households effectively. She talks about smart meters, and then intelligent to pay engagements, small metering infra, smart grids, etc. Then we had a plenary talk by Professor Manoj Shukla, who is the director of Rajasthan Engineering College. He talked about optimum multiple access scheme in wireless communication. Professor Manoj Shukla, he talked on the optimum multiple access scheme in wireless communication. It was very informative and engaging. He discussed the challenges of optimizing the performance of wireless communication system, including the impact of noise, interference, and signal distortion. Now, Professor Shukla, he presented some strategies for improving the efficiency and reliability of wireless communication system, including the use of multiple access schemes. His lecture was very informative, and especially for our students. And in near future also, we are going to engage him for a day or two, for full 2 days for his lectures. Overall, Professor Shukla, his talk provided valuable insights into the complex field of wireless communication and potential of emerging technologies to improve the efficiency and reliability of the system. Then we had plenary talk by Dr. Tarun Sharma, who is professor in IIT Roorkee. So he talked about perspective of epistemology of energy system optimization. Dr. Tarun Sharma plenary talk on perspective of epistemology of energy system optimization shed light on the importance of understanding the principles of epistemology to optimize energy systems. Dr. Sharma explained that energy systems can be optimized using several approaches such as mathematical optimization, simulation, and machine learning. However, without a proper understanding of epistemology, these approaches may not yield optimum results. Then Dr. Sharma talk, it was very informative and he highlighted the need to consider epistemology while optimizing energy systems. His highlights would be helpful for the researchers and professionals working in the field of energy systems. Then we had a plenary talk by Dr. Kamal Kant Verma. He talked about human activities recognition in videos using deep learning. In his plenary talk, Dr. Kamal Kant Verma discussed the use of deep learning techniques for human activity recognition, and he also presented some of the videos. He highlighted the importance of human activity recognition in several fields, such as security, healthcare, and sports. Dr. Verma explained how deep learning techniques, such as convolutional neural network and recurrent neural networks, RNNs, can be used to recognize human activities in videos. Dr. Verma discussed the challenges associated with human activity recognition, such as occlusion, scale variation, and complex motion patterns. He presented several solutions to address these challenges, such as using multiple cameras and incorporating context information. So overall, it was a very informative talk. All the researchers, they can be benefited and they can think to work in these areas. Then it was the plenary talk. It was given by me of role of renewable energy in thermal energy systems. So I informed the House about the various thermal systems like solar water heating, steam cooking, and all. We discussed in detail, and how the research can be carried out, because we need to shift to the renewable energy systems. Is the need of the demand. Then today we had plenary talk by Professor Demetrius Sotiris, and he discussed about current trends in the performance measurement. He talked about DEA. The DEA is a non-parametric method for measuring the efficiency of decision-making units such as firms, hospitals, and universities. In his talk, he discussed the basics of DEA, including the input and output variables. Then he talked about the footwear industry also, and he provided several examples of DEA applications, including the evaluation of Portuguese footwear exports. Then, after that, we had a talk, Dr. Yash Chavla, he delivered a talk on just now on COVID-19 pandemic. So he discussed the importance of public knowledge and awareness in mitigating the spread of COVID-19 and the need to study the factors that influence the public knowledge. He presented the result of a survey that he conducted globally and to assess the predictors of the public knowledge. So just now we had his lecture, and sir, your lecture was very informative. That you did a survey to globally. One information I want to share with you that I was infected with COVID-19 in my second wave, and as you said, first thing I did was I deleted my WhatsApp. Second thing I did was I switched off my TV and I didn't watch any news, any WHO news and all. Simple thing I did was I went to yoga and meditation, which I was doing from last 10 years. I did that yoga meditation and I took the medicines which were prescribed by the government of India. And let me tell you, within 7 days, I was completely fine. Because the information which are being spread on this WhatsApp and all, someone may disagree, but this is all nonsense. You should not see this. Whatever you feel, you do this. And yoga and meditation, it has a very huge power. So, sir, you can include this topic in your research also. You can jointly do this research. Jointly you can do, because we have a Patanjali ashram also. So, lot of, in government of India, they are focusing a lot on yoga and meditation. So, this was all about. So with this, thank you very much for patient hearing, and hope in the coming years we will again organize all these conclaves. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I would like to request all the esteemed guests to join us for a cup of tea outside the boardroom. Then we'll come back again for roundtable discussion. Thank you.
Actually, to tell you honestly, I don't have words to express myself on this wonderful event that we saw last yesterday and today, for which a lot of preparations were done from both sides. The visiting eminent delegates from Poland and our colleagues from other institutions. However, I would be failing in my duty if I don't put my thoughts into words for my own colleagues here. Uh, their performance has been to a level of perfection. Uh, let's give a big hand to Professor Munish Sethi. I have been, I was not here, but we were virtually connected on many hours of phone calls and exchange of messages, emails, for perfecting the process of pre-conference activities. And then I must thank Yash Chawla. I think what I feel is that he doesn't sleep. Because the moment I write a mail, whatever time it is, within no time his response comes. So it looks to me that he doesn't sleep. One man army kind of thing, person. And then my other colleagues, whether it was stage management, media management, catering management, the eating food in our for our guests and others, making us all meet the honorable chairman and the management, other members of the management, organizing minute-to-minute activity with precision, perfection, and with a sense of responsibility. We saw this morning Dr. Sethi uh, put in words briefly on who spoke what. Is magnificent. Because when you wish to reach media, they see if the news of yesterday is not sent yesterday, then it is no news, new news. So it was done, and the bites given by all of you already they are making rounds in social media, and already today's papers, I am told, already have a coverage on this event, which is already come in papers. So the response time is most important. How quickly you respond and how accurately you respond to. But well, beyond all this, the the most important thing is what after the conference. So that is what is the outcome of the conference or conclave. And this is what I said a number of times and I repeat here. Actually, the story begins now. Now that we know each other, we know the institution, we know a bit of your institution, even though we have not visited you so far, which we would love to do. We we should um, put our best foot forward in ensuring how, in what sphere we can come closer. It is not easy. The response from both sides have to come and match the expectations of both the institutes. So thank you so much, and I wish you back home, happy journey back home in a few days, and let's stay in touch. Bye bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for the worthy wordings. Now there is a small roundtable discussion Firstly, I would like to thank to all the delegates from already from Poland. Now, I request Dr. Poland, sir, please just listen on this.
Speaker, okay, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I think we can start. Okay, well, on behalf of the delegation for the University of Science and Technology and Faculty of Management, we are extremely grateful for your hospitality, your professional way of treating us. We've had some experiences on the way, and this is really perfect. So thank you very much. On the research hub side, we've also discussed with the Chancellor some opportunities that we, student exchange, faculty exchange, potentially applying for joint projects. So we can also, I guess, discuss those here. From our side, I can say that we are always open to research collaboration because we are really focused on research. The five of us here, we are. I mean, I'm personally responsible for the evaluation of research at our university. There are 2,000 employees, 13 disciplines. So this really is something that is on my mind. And also here, whenever we meet people from different universities, it's only research which I think about, not so much teaching. So if any of you have any ideas for collaboration or research projects or being part of our research projects, our studies, then please just contact us. This is a simple thing to do. Write an email, connect on LinkedIn or any form of WhatsApp. And yeah, we just like the idea of sharing knowledge, and we are open to it. So thank you very much.
Yes, so apart from what Professor Rafał has already mentioned, I can also briefly remind you that I am the head of the doctoral school at our Faculty of Management. So if you are aware that some of your graduates would be interested in joining our doctoral school, please also inform me. You can ask me, or you, or just the students directly can contact me and ask questions because the application starts in May, so they must start thinking about this quite soon in the springtime. And then we would be more than happy to visit you and to take care of you, of the students joining us at our university at the Faculty of Management.
I don't know really if I have something to add, but I can only say that I was really impressed by your warm welcome. It's really great organization. Me personally, I'm member of Academia Random. This is a very nice organization at our university which gathers young people below 35 who try to reach perfection still in science and research. So as Rafa already mentioned, probably this is the point at which we could collaborate somehow. Of course, we have several very nice curricula also in English, like business intelligence, for example. This is the main because this is our master program. So I hope it will be like Chancellor already mentioned, the start of our journey. So thank you very much for very warm welcome and I have to add something. Sorry. Yesterday I had very nice interaction with your students also because they prepared very nice projects. So I went through some posters and I was really impressed, both on the technical projects like on renewable resources of energy, also social projects, how to get more aware of like health issues or sharing blood with others. So I'm really impressed, and I think that collaboration between your students and our students within some projects would be also very fruitful. So I'm really looking forward to it. So thank you very much.
Well, I would also like to thank you all. It was really nice to be here, to be welcome in such a really world-way institution. Apart from what my colleagues said, personally, I'm evaluating application orders in our master program in BI. So actually, apart from the doctoral school, maybe it would be also interesting into the master level, have some exchange with students. Maybe some students want to come here, maybe some of our students want to visit India. I think this is also another possibility that we should probably have to discuss to solve first any technical issues if there are. But this is also, I think, a nice option to see something different and both our students to see something different.
So now they've done all the good bits, left the bad bits.
Yeah.
No, that's kidding. Okay, so I would also like to thank everybody for, and the university was such a welcome, and of course to Professor Jaglan, because he was the one who connected us, like connected me first and connected all of us to you all. So probably if you wouldn't have met him, then probably you wouldn't be here. So that's an important thing. But overall, it was a good interaction. The only thing that we would say is, as you already mentioned, we already always focus on research. So any interactions based in that direction would be welcome from all of you right now, or even after we go back. Do not hesitate to write to us or connect with us if there is anything that we could do together, or any of our areas correspond with yours, remotely correspond with yours. Because as you might have seen, like we have a physicist, a person with
Electrical
electrical engineering, mathematics, somewhat
Computers.
computers and mathematics, mechanical engineering and the computer applications and business. So we are all working in management science, but not exactly from management science. So that is what business intelligence is today. So whatever your expertise is, you can always work on business intelligence. So thank you all for having us here, and looking forward to a nice discussion, and hopefully someone will write to us and then we can just move forward. We can do it without the mic. Too much power on the house.
So a very warm good morning to all the delegates and dignitaries. I'm delighted to be a part of this conclave. Among the 2 days, my students and my faculty members who have interacted with you are highly been blessed and highly been knowledge with your informations and the thoughts that you have shared. On behalf of whole fraternity, I extend my warm thank you to all the dignitaries who have spared their valuable time among these 2 days, who interacted with my faculty members. And I hope in future endeavors also, this knowledge that you have shared with my students and my faculty members will highly get benefited to get their proper in the proper future endeavors and the placements also. I have no wonder that the information that you have shared will of high importance to my faculty members, and in near future also we definitely collaborate together, and we'll hope to see you in near future also. Thank you so much.
Anyone doubts?
Sir, yes, we have already a good team of students working in our machine learning and cyber security. So is there any kind of project that we can collaborate with you in terms of that we have a good system of students and faculty already working in emerging areas?
Okay, currently I have several projects on electricity forecasting, and we also close with machine learning. So if any of your students or faculty members would like to cooperate on this topic, then it's immediately we can start. So we can start discussing it today, or well over email in the next when we go back. So that's I mean there's no problem. But this is machine learning tools are just tools. Now the area in which you apply it, of course, makes a bit of difference what type of tools you should use for it. But they are general, so probably if you're using in a different area and you have some knowledge about these tools, you can try it in another area. So that's something we start immediately.
Okay. So smart meters is one of the domain. So any other domain
in which we can participate or we can do some joint project?
Well, maybe I can say, my project regarding smart meters was actually ended, but now I can start. I have got funds from the National Science Center regarding the survey devoted to energy communities. So what I will start doing when I come back, I will prepare a quite big empirical survey regarding the, let's say, potentials and chances, opportunities for the establishment of energy communities in Poland. But it doesn't have to be Poland itself. So if any of you has some interest in energy communities, especially those that base on renewable energies and that make some usage of advanced technologies, like blockchain, for example, please contact me either by email or on my LinkedIn account, and then we can think about some collaboration.
Yeah, we are not doing really in our faculty cybersecurity. It's more like computer science. We are in management department, so not really. Of course, we are like computer scientists are very useful for us, let's say, because I myself I was studying computational physics, so I'm doing simulation myself, for example. We are not yet using at least my group neural networks or any machine learning. We are more in Monte Carlo simulation that stuff, but I'm sure that computer students that are studying computer science can easily do it also. So if they would be interested in any type of this kind of modeling and computer simulations, you can always write me and for sure I will find something, but it's not really cybersecurity, and also it is not still machine learning, although I know that people are combining these two methods, so maybe with during discussion we can develop something new. Yes.
Thank you. Anyone? Just to add on the commercial questions, my question somehow related on the same. Like you have a smart presentation on the electrical meter, and we have a specialized branch in machine learning and cyber security. Like being taking care of the cyber security branch. Since my question on the same on the cyber security, like we have a good batch of students who are more focused on the cyber security. Like as you have told me that you don't have a specialized branch in cyber security. So how can I motivate my cyber security students to basically go through that way and they can work on your computer science project?
How you can do this? Of course, like that's
It's a challenge.
that's a challenge. Yeah.
No, I mean, okay, don't expect from us that we can offer all kinds of topics to all of the students. It's not possible. I mean, what we can do personally, we can offer them some support, research assistance in areas which need to be specialized, because this is natural for us. So cybersecurity is not. I mean, there are different faculties, huge IT faculty at our institution, but it's just different people. So we cannot offer anything from this area. Now, whether you should convince the students from cybersecurity to start doing something else, I don't know. I mean, if they are interested in forecasting, then perhaps they could start with me. If they are interested in social simulations, perhaps with Sasha. If in, I don't know.
Consumer attitudes, preferences, and all that stuff. So
Modeling
like
is
one
somehow-
side of the market.
So optimization, Lini, what can you say?
Anything else?
Everything else is yes, yeah. He's a one-woman army, I think. So, I mean, here we cannot offer the other. We just offer what we represent, what is our expertise. And if your students will find this attractive, or some of your faculty will find it attractive, then we can cooperate. But we cannot stretch and I mean too much.
But why would you want to convince them to do something else if they've chosen cybersecurity?
So my motive is like to get some kind of collaboration.
But I mean, collaboration could be with somebody else apart from us as well. The thing is that you were discussing yesterday as well, that I think what you should concentrate on, right? I mean, okay, it's 5 of us are here, we can directly talk, but in general, collaborations work in a very simple way. If you find somebody who's an expert in cybersecurity, write to that person.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the people everywhere around the world, if you have some substance in terms of what you want to work, they will respond to you. Be it the senior most professor in the most Ivy League college, they will respond to you because everybody appreciates good ideas, good way of research. So if you have something to deliver or if you have something to bring to the table, people will talk to you. And this thing, I mean, I personally don't believe in asking somebody to change their orientation until unless somebody asks me, should I change it, so I can give them a good reason to change it or not change it based on what I know about the person. But just because I have a bottle and I feel something, I wouldn't melt my eyes to put water inside the bottle.
So we cannot provide assistance in areas we are not experts.
Yes.
So this is something, even we pretend that we can do that, we actually cannot do that.
And the industries in Europe also are very much open towards doing research. There are a lot of industries that are open. So if the students are interested in cybersecurity, then there are firms like, for instance, the company that I consult for right now, they do work in machine learning, cyber, all the emerging technologies or deep tech that you can talk of. You can actually approach them as well. They do have a certain number of hours for each engineer dedicated to research. So those companies also apply for projects in EU and they participate in large consortium projects. So it's not just limited to academia as well. It's about finding like doing the homework in terms of finding the right people who can give you value in your field. That's very why there's a portal Eurexis where there are a lot of positions also that are displayed. Usually, if it is a European Union funded project, then the information is usually there.
Every offer at every university in Europe
Has to be published
published
there.
there, so it's almost.
It's always there. It's Eurexis. I think
Yes.
I shared you.
But what Jan said is very important, you have to do your homework.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to find the persons which match your interests and your skills. Because approaching someone who's doing something different, he'll be reluctant to cooperate because it just would take him or her too much time. So like I'm saying, if you, any of your students want to do like space forecasting, I can do it. If you would say solar forecasting, maybe I'll find that time, maybe not. You have to research who is doing the thing that you would like to do and contact them. And as you have said, typically academics are open to collaboration. Do not be afraid to write an email to someone, explain something, provide them also some proof of your expertise of what you have done so far. So a link to a paper or some project that you have. So some information, not just that you want to collaborate with them, but to give them some evidence that you can do something interesting with them. And then, as you have said, I think most academics will respond positively.
And be very clear on what you want. If you say, oh, I want to collaborate, like,
No, that's not.
if it is a very famous, I mean, he might get a few emails a day, then he wouldn't respond to every email. But if you write to him, okay, you are working on electricity price forecasting, my area is machine learning, and I think I can apply this machine learning for doing some part of this electricity forecasting, then it becomes interesting for you.
For instance, if you write that you would like to use some of my methods from some of my papers and apply that in the Indian market, this will be interesting for you. So I guess this is what you have to look for. You have to look for some topics that you can offer something special that the other professor doesn't have. So like let's say expertise on Indian market. I don't have. I just have the general ideas. You can have provide some expertise and data on the market, and you say okay, perhaps you have published such and such methods. Perhaps you can modify in such and such a way, and this will be better suited for a different market. And this is something offer something that you can do. This is usually what people look for.
When I was doing my PhD, I just wrote to random people in different countries when we wanted to do surveys, and we ended up doing surveys in 6-7 different countries without spending even 1 rupee. We collected a lot of data, like Brazil, we collected 1,000, Indonesia, 500 responses, Turkey, 500 responses. I mean, we did not spend any money, we just created a survey, contacted people who were working in similar areas, and the first person that we contacted was the person that we collaborated with. No, I didn't write a second email as well. And at that time, I didn't have any impact to publications also. Right? I think it matters in terms of what you propose to them, and they should find it valuable, and then they will respond to it. The most of the people that you see in my research, I might have not even met all of them in person. It's always about just being bold enough to write and having a clarity of what you want.
Offering something, and data is one of those things that is valuable in academic work. So if you have some unique data, and maybe also just to have a look at the data and just to see a different market. So yeah, so these are the hints. I mean, you have to, I mean, find the topic, find a person who's doing something similar, offer him or her something that you can do. Data is one of the things, simple things that you can offer. And yeah, I mean, as you have said, contacting people, this is normal. And I mean, in Europe, in the US, this is very normal. I mean, people do it. They just back in conferences again. They approach you, suggest something, they can do, they can offer. This is what you do, but you can also do it via the emails. Now we have moved more online with the pandemic. More often we use Zoom or Teams, whatever, more teleconferencing. So social media also connected. So use this means of communication. Just always remember to approach the right person with some idea.
There is one, I'm thinking about this. Can we interact online with a few people like from your university and with you, with our like scholars and professors in our university? So online meeting, so that you can discuss about it, what your problem you are facing in your research area and what we are facing that problem in our areas of research. So we are not saying that you just help us in to find a solution on this. It's a way of discussion that problem. Maybe sometime out of 100, we can say out of 50 or out of 10, we can get this particular solution which is similar to like the case-based studies we have. So maybe we will, after the discussion we will get the fruitful result in terms of ourselves, or we will with the help of your association, or maybe that we will get that on the direction that like that parents or that we both do.
Okay, I understand what you're saying, but from our perspective, this is a bit of a waste of time. What we can offer, if some of the seminars we are conducting, we have them face to face, but some of them are online.
Yeah.
If it's an online seminar, I can send the link to you,
Yeah.
anyone of you, and then during the seminar, you can see what some topics we are discussing, interact with us, ask questions, and or also after the seminar. This will be more natural for us. It will not take us extra time just to connect and discuss something.
Okay, that's great.
So also, if you have some seminars which are online, and of course the communication channels has to be good. This is a problem because I mean with online seminars, if the internet is not working perfectly, then it's annoying and it's hard to understand each other. So I mean I was actually on a summer school in December in Jaipur. They invited one of the PhD students just knew my works, approached his supervisor. She contacted me, and I gave a talk on some summer school in Jaipur. This was, I mean, there was some interaction, but there was some more students wanted to ask questions, but the communication channel wasn't working well. So this is also a problem. So especially with online communications, if you can do it right, I mean, have a good communication, good internet access, then this is also a very good means of communication. I mean, nowadays, I mean, I started this actually 15 years ago when there was no Zoom, no MS Teams to connect with. Initially, we used Skype, of course, a lot of emails with my colleagues in Australia. But now it's, I mean, almost everybody does it. I mean, Timmy does it every single day, I guess, with his colleagues in Greece or other parts of the world. Yash is also doing. Just today in the morning, he had a Zoom session at 3 a.m. 3:30 with colleagues in different parts of Europe. So this is normal. And so from our side of the region, like I said, when we have an online seminar, I can send a link, a Zoom link, and then you can connect and let's see how it works.
One of the things that, and I don't know, I mean, maybe it is already happening here, but one of the things that probably would be good to do to promote research among yourself as well, to have a department-wise or a university-wide seminar like what we have at our department, an S3 seminar. It's a science meets social science. So we have all kinds. I mean, we have people with a hardcore IT background, chemical background, bio-waste background, or mathematics background, all of them coming on the same platform and talking to us. So if you want to have new ideas to research, or you need to have interdisciplinary research talk. So you have like good facilities, you all do research. Why not one person shares stuff? Come to a place, share what you have done, and then others discuss. That's how you get ideas. That's how we get, adventurous ideas to do some things.
And also regarding seminars, usually they are open. I mean, most seminars in the world
They're
are open. I'm getting also, I mean, every few weeks, oh my god, or sometimes every week, I get some notice, emails with, for instance, seminar announcements from the IT background. They have a lot of them as well. If you are interested, you can forward some of them, and then once you start attending them, they will be also on the mailing list. That's also possible. So we can kind of, if you are interested in kind of seminar, some topics, and send us, Yash or me an email, and we can try to connect with some people, or tell you which seminars you could try to attend, and then see for yourself. I mean, this is how we work in New York. So we approach, we discuss, we offer something, and then we start the collaboration. That's the way it goes.
Yeah, and you can actually, in most of the universities, like in France, there are so many different seminars happening every week. You can just register it once, and it's free. They send you the link and the details of the speaker every week. So once you are done, then you're getting these updates every week, and if the topic is related to what you want, you can attend the seminar at a given point of time. So it's just a link, Zoom link or a Microsoft Teams link, and you just attend. And this is, I think, like just like we are interacting right now, and there is a seminar, and there is a speaker who's talking on a topic which is related to you, and you ask the speaker a topic, a question, or you give a comment on the research. That's like the first point of contact of how you can be in collaboration with that person. It's so easy. Once the person you start a dialogue with the person and you ask a question or a comment, then the discussion, everything else is possible.
As you said, you have to be a bit bold.
Yeah, you have to be bold.
We come from Poland. I mean, we are now working in Poland. Come from different backgrounds. I remember 20, 30 years ago, the style of doing research was a bit different. When we looked at it, we went to Western Europe or the US, it looked different for us. For us, it looked bold at that time. Now it's actually just normal. So we have also kind of adopted in Poland this openness, this easiness to approach other academics. As I said, 20, 30 years ago, it still felt kind of awkward. Sometimes we are afraid to do it. But this is the way the academics work in Europe and in the US.
And also, of course, I'm not as senior, of course, as you, but I also receive emails from outside of Europe, from people that just work in my area. They ask my advice, they ask me for software, for code, and we are coming in touch, and sometimes we're trying to find more ground. And if they are really interested and they want my help, I will definitely help. But sometimes if I feel that they just want me to do their work, at some point I stop. But if they are really interested, I always reply to them and work with them. So it's not only in Europe, it's also outside of Europe. And it's fun.
No, but I mean, what I'm trying to say is some cultures have a different way of approaching, let's say, foreigners. I mean, foreigners do not mean that people don't know. So just kind of some reluctance before you actually do it. Now, how the system works in Europe is that you have to be open. This is the style of life now, and if once you accept it, it will be really easy for you to connect with people.
And you'll be surprised that Iran, Pakistan, Afghanistan, people there are more bold than us to approach people from different parts of the world. Like he gets a lot of emails from Iran. I don't know, somebody forgot his profile. Now everybody in Iran loves Dili. So he gets a lot of emails from there.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, they have this culture that they want to move out of their country, so they are bold enough to try. But probably we are not of that opinion because India is pretty good. So probably we are not bold in that way. Because when I was here, probably I would also not do that. I would also not just write to. I would write to anybody in India, but I would not write to anybody abroad because I was not having a mindset of going abroad. But what changed during the COVID-19 pandemic is that there is no abroad anymore. You can actually talk to anybody work by just being here. You don't need to be in Europe to work.
Whole world is a village.
Yeah, whole world.
Whole
Actually
world is
became
a
a
village.
So a lot of things change and people so meetings like probably as you were saying that 10 years ago probably Skype was still something like who will set up Skype. Now it's just a click of a link on a phone. So things have become very different now. So you need to be a part of that to excel.
Excuse me, I have a question. In this whole scenario, where can we find the opportunity for our management students and their non-technical students?
So we have been discussing, and yesterday also we had a talk. So one of the things that can be done is not. I mean, this is actually applicable to all the fields because we have something called 3+ summer school, and in that 3+ summer school we have courses related to management, technical courses as well, and any student can actually take any course. Usually there is some prerequisite criteria, but most of the courses can be like taken by anybody. They're usually very lenient on the prerequisite criteria, so they can directly apply. They can come for the summer school. Usually 4 weeks of summer school where it's very very cheap because there is no tuition fee, it's just accommodation fee and some other lunches and other things are included in that. And they get to study the subject, they get evaluated for the subject, they get European credit transfer system points. So it's very valuable for their career. So they can also be, if university wants, they can also treat it as an internship. Some universities do that. So that is one. Now specifically for management students, one thing is that if we have another master's program in HRM. So people who are interested in human resource management, they can probably, that's a 2-year master, just like it is in MBA HR here. So that is something that could be useful for them. If anybody in masters here is interested to do research, then one of the things that, if you look at PhD students of Nasha or PhD students of Raha, they are usually in touch with them when they are doing their master thesis. Because when you start to do your master thesis, you're not like in that mode that I want to do hardcore research, but you're trying to understand the concepts, understand the methods, understand what's next. So learning more basically. And then at that point of time, if somebody is interested in any of the research that we do, then those students can try it to spend like a semester where they're doing their project or thesis or whatever, and then they can try to learn certain methods which will prepare them. Maybe some thesis will result in a publication. Not very high impact, but maybe some simple. So that basically prepares them to go into a PhD program, and then we have Anna who can basically guide them for that. So the management students can have that inclination. We were also thinking right now, but this will be not for the management student because our DI master's program is 1.5 years. So there is a possibility. I mean, we don't know. We still need to consider a lot of things. But for technical students, there is a possibility that we can might. I mean, this is I'm just talking highly probable things that both universities, a lot of things need to be worked out for this might to happen. So there could be a possibility where there will be one semester here. That semester basically would be a prelude to the 3 semesters of our business intelligence program. So you, as a university, give a 2-year degree, and we give them a 1.5-year degree. So that is something that might be possible. So the students study 1 semester here, and it's like it kind of becomes a bridge between the 2 programs, and then both the universities can give the degree together. I mean, this is something which is possible. It can be also. I mean, you have to explore the possibilities of maybe management students doing something like this to get some kind of title that would entitle them for getting into the BI program, because BI program needs the title of an engineer. So
okay, but BA program, this internship program is not really meant for soft, let's say, management students.
yes,
Those are either quantitative management
yes.
or technical sciences, computer science, mathematics, statistics, yeah. Okay.
It can be for any student who is an engineer and
It can be any students who are some programming skills, who likes quantitative studies, data science, yeah. And this program, what it does, it gives kind of it gives a business perspective, but the quantitative business perspective. So it is, I mean, this is a pretty kind of prescriptive way of thinking and analysis. But as I said, it's not for typical, and also at our faculty, only some of the students in the more quantitative program really come and join this program. But maybe it's 1/3 of students that are from management. The rest come from other different disciplines. So mostly from computer science, mathematics, but also some engineering, mechanical engineering. So, I mean, if any student knows programming, at least the basic of programming, then this is already a good start.
We also have the other master program,
Yes,
it's already human resource management.
So that is something that
I'm also teaching there, I'm doing human resource analytics. So this is something for students that have more soft skills.
So at our university, we have two types of program. I mean, okay, the first degree, it either is a 6 semester to 3 year bachelor degree or a 7 semester engineering degree. And then on top of this, you have either 2 years of master or 1.5 year of master. So in total for the master, it's 5 years. That's how the system works. Most of the courses at our university, technical university, are the first degree are the engineering degrees and then 1.5 year master. However, in faculty of management, we have both tracks. So also the bachelor 6 and the engineering 7, and then this is 2 years and this is 1.5 years. But this is how it works. And then on top of that is a 4 year PhD program funded by the state. So it's that's generally how it works.
This reason why I was saying that this thing would probably work well for students to do masters, because in India it's a 4+2 for technical status. So 1.5 year master, if somebody does a 1 year master in the UK for engineering, or 1.5 years master in say Poland, for example, in engineering, and they come back to India and they want an equivalency from the All India Association of Universities, then they will not have an equivalency. So they will not be considered as a master graduate if they don't have a 2 year master's. So in that case, for students who want to come back to India, it could be actually very valuable if there is a 1 semester happening here and then they're going doing BI and then coming here. Because any master is 2 years here. If you want to do an MBA, MSc, a master in science or master in business, it has to be 2 years for that.
Degree will be awarded by.
So degree can be awarded in like we give them 1.5 years master, which we already give. You can, because of you have another semester plus you have 1.5 years, so you can give this master. So you basically get 2 degrees, one from us and one from you. So this is something which can be really explored for technical students specifically, as you mentioned, because probably the soft management students who might not be eligible for it.
Or maybe they will be after this 1 semester.
Yes, it depends on
the
but the problem would be that we need a diploma of 3.5 years. And they would not be able to give a diploma of 3.5 years. Because there is no provision in it. But if we have some provision where we have a 3 year bachelor's and 6 months certificate program or a diploma program, which a university can grant, then
these are more for the Polish, for the foreigners.
it's okay.
Yeah. So strict.
So this is something that we can explore and get back to you.
Yeah,
We have to check it and get back to you.
First of all, students will do UG over here.
Yes.
BTech suppose they do here.
Yes.
6 months they will spend here.
Yes.
1.5 months they will.
1.5 years.
Sorry, 1.5 years there. So they will get 2 degrees, 1 degree from us and 1 degree from there.
Yes.
Right. But we need to do some credit matching in that. Some subjects should be like that.
Yes, of course.
That's why I was saying it's not an immediate thing.
It's not an immediate, it's something that requires, that would require a lot of interaction. It would require a lot
If the courses in our business intelligence curriculum match some of your courses, or most of them actually, then probably this could be done. But if not, then
Yeah.
this is for it. So
So, I think,
being the head of the community, sir, is there any possibility for pursuing internship at your institute for my student? Since we have summer vacation at June and July, they will completing legal semester examinations. So,
yes,
then what is the procedure?
So in summer school, of course, they can come and attend these courses. So that is, you just have to apply online, and I can share the details and you'll get it. But in terms of internships, we had this one instance where and they get funding. Because it was from Europe itself, they got funding to be there. And then there was one intern that I requested your permission to have.
not from last month.
No. It was just like they will come and stay for say 4 weeks, and they will just give them office space and they work with me.
So if they have external funding,
Yes.
that's not a problem. So in general, yeah. So if a student has external funding, then
Or self-funded.
then we can offer them office space essentially.
Yeah.
So that's what we can do.
But again, the internship would basically be in research, because that's what we do. So if you have somebody, for instance, working in emerging technologies and diffusion of emerging technologies, then probably you can contact us, and then we will see what can be done. So we can define what has to be done in the 4 weeks, and then the student basically needs to come and bear their own expense until there can be some other funding. But it's something very case to case basis. There is no direct framework of it, but it is possible to be done on case to case. Considered, it can be considered on a case to case basis based on what is to be done, what are the probable outcomes, what value does that internship bring for both the parties.
So can it be done online mode also?
Yeah,
I didn't hear it. Can you repeat?
The internship which we are talking about, can this be conducted, the whole internship, can this be conducted through remotely? Like
Online, internship be conducted online.
Depends what would be needed from our side. I mean, if it would be too much time consuming, I don't know. I mean, okay, if there will be really some benefit for us, I mean, this will be kind of supervision. You have to meet with this person. If you do it remotely, it takes some time. When they are on site in Poland, then we can meet in a larger group, kind of meet as a group anyways. This way they can interact. But if I have to set, I don't know, an hour every second day or a few days with your student, then it takes time for me, and I'm not sure if I can find that much time. So this is a bit.
As you mentioned, it has to bring value for both parties. Then. So if, for instance, if he is doing some research and that student is basically able to run some analysis that he has asked him to, or him or her to run, then probably you wouldn't mind spending an hour. But it has to add value to both sides.
Actually, we have not entered here. It's on the last semester, which is dissertation. Dissertation basically is it's a 6 month one year.
Like master.
Yeah. So we have a supervisor here, but in which we literature survey and other things we have to do, and then there is a compulsory things the research publication. So maybe 1 or 2 publications that student have to publish to complete his masters. So maybe that we can get that online support of co-supervisor or something.
We can do joint supervision.
But as you said, this has to be mutually beneficial.
Yeah.
We as academics, we need to see the benefit of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I must say, okay, the master students I work with, they're the top in class. So it's not that every student we work with is on research topics. It doesn't make sense for me. Otherwise, I would just have to teach them on everything. No, I need them to study on their own. I can just guide them, and the quality of their analysis has to be top level. Otherwise, it's just a waste of time. I mean, I've tried several times to them, and it just doesn't work.
Even we have PhD students also. 1 or 2 students they are really interested. Yesterday also, someone he was talking to you, so we can just.
Yeah,
that is also.
Okay, then we come to what I said in the beginning. I mean, if you have a student, faculty, I mean, master student, PhD student, faculty member who directly fits into our agenda. I mean, our type, our research we are doing, that this is easy for us. I mean, that's no problem. But if this is going to be kind of a general internship, then this is a waste of time.
Because as you mentioned when Kamal was asking in the beginning about machine learning and electricity bias forecasting, he said we can do that immediately. I mean, we don't have to even wait. We just exchange, okay, what is something to do. You can exchange emails, and that work can begin immediately. You don't need to sign any papers for that. It's about mutual understanding between the researchers working together. When we talk about programs, then there are like 50,000 people involved in everything from your side as well as from our side, because everybody would want everything to be in the legal framework of it, not to land in trouble after one student comes and we don't know what to do with that student. So
we are in a government university, meaning the number of officials on the way between the decision
are actually 50,000.
Yeah.
Any question?
Yes.
I have one query regarding how it is very helpful for smart agriculture or Indian farming.
There are so many applications that you can. There is a project that the company that I'm consulting for is running. It's called Agar Sense. It is funded, and there are about 100 partners from different places in the world, and the European Union has given about 90 million. 90 million euros in funding for that. So Agar Sense, what it is basically doing is it's taking artificial intelligence And there, say, a field has more than 1,000 sensors. It is at different levels of the depth, so it is collecting data in all weathers at all times of the day and so on. And then there is an artificial intelligence algorithm which is basically telling the each say drip irrigation system how much water has to be dropped at what time of the day so that the maximum water efficiency can be there. So this is a simple application of ETBI in agriculture because you save resources, you save, you use, because it's an electronic system, so you can actually do it with least amount of energy. And because they have using the gravitational tanks, so you don't run any pumps, you just run the pump to get the water once, but usually it's coming from the municipality on pressure, so you can get it on the pump, and drip irrigation doesn't require too much pressure. So there are a lot of such examples that you can find to follow this.
Can I get any email for you?
For me?
Maybe for you all.
Yes, I mean.
Of course,
Yes,
you can get it from me.
Well, you Google our names.
Yeah, you
and
Google
they
our
are-
names.
All of them are actually unique. So,
Mine is,
yeah.
but I'm making.
So it's easy to find our web pages but of course if you connect with, I mean, if
You
you
connect
connect with
with
Yashi, then you can just send me the email. It's not a problem.
No, you just remember Yash Chopra, Yash from Yash Chopra, and Chawla from Dewey Chawla, and then write PhD after that. You will find me.
Thank you so much, John. Thank you so much, John.
So one more thing I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
Yesterday we were talking about that solar thermal system, about
Yeah.
solar drying and all.
Yeah.
So actually I'm working on that field, solar drying of agriculture products.
Yeah.
Can we do some research on
Yeah,
that?
there is an open thing that what has you discussed with Kasta by Noska. So that there is a process that we are developing. There is a company that is developing that process. And before I came here, just we had a meeting, and what we are looking for is an efficient renewable energy solution to take a product which has 70 to 80% moisture and use just renewable energy to dry it to 5%. This is the problem. If you have a solution to it, please tell us. And then we can collaborate on
What would be the, I mean, product, agriculture, it will be agricultural product.
No, you can, the product, I mean,
What is the
it will be fertilizer in the end,
It is
but
fertilizer.
that is not the important. You want to not use electrical energy to dry something.
I'm very clear working on this. I'll get it back.
Sure. But you have to remember that the solution that we are looking for should also work in cold climate, not cold climate, not just in India.
Of course, we will go to Uttarakhand. Uttarakhand is having very cold and
I mean, probably.
No, 2,000 kilometers north and then we can start talking.
Yeah. I mean, still, if it is, even for warm climate, it is still a fine solution.
Like similarly, that when we are talking about that agriculture, it's a lot, because India is a very big country and we have a lot of agriculture land, but like the environmental factors are quite different. Like, have you heard about the sprinkler in the Rajasthan? So that agriculture is done by that the irrigation method by sprinkler. So and here is the dripping method, and in the Israel is again dripping method. But when you are talking about the wheat and other agriculture products, at that time sprinkler we use in that. But the problem is there that in the middle, or you can say in the afternoon, that the wind velocity is very high. At that time, we have to just quit that sprinklers. So we are thinking on that smart sprinkler. So with the help of electrical and electronics department or faculty, you can design the smart sprinklers which react and that control the speed of sprinkling, that the drops and the size of drops on the basis of their wind velocity, and we will get that optimized result within that particular time. So because there is time to just provide that water to that particular, you can say irrigate agriculture products. Okay, sometimes there is a bandwidth about that 1 or 2 days only. So you should work very smartly and very perfectly in that sprinkler solutions. Okay. So there is a traditional method of sprinkling the thing, like people go there and push this and pick there and put it another way and another space, so that we get maximum, we cover the thing in different zone, that something which is, you can sand is there, and we are not getting the direct wind there. So on the basis of the geographical location and the location of the thing, on that basis we design that sprinkler. But our
industry, or you can say sprinkler industry, don't think about this one, but you can design and patent it in that form to just deliver a smart sprinkler for the irrigation in the remote zone of Rajasthan.
See, just to conclude this, if you're working in emerging technologies, you need to see that there is a shift on a global level, that we are moving away from shallow tech. Shallow tech is basically digitalizing things. You put a sensor, you basically put a computer chip, and you make something automated. So that is still shallow tech. What we are talking about right now is deep tech, where you need to understand and do scientific research to build some solution right from the point of understanding the problem to building a unique solution that is not just about digitalizing something. So if you want to really work in emerging technologies and business intelligence, you need to understand deep tech and go towards deep tech. Not just, okay, I have to move this bottle from here to here, so I will design a robotic arm to do it. It's still just automation. What I want to do is move water from here to here without using the plastic bottle. That becomes deep tech. That is what we want. We don't want to.
Thank you so much to all. I'm very much thankful to all the renowned personalities from foreign. And it was a great discussion, and we had a great international conclave as we had the lectures from you and plenary talk on the themes and the topics. And definitely we can use in the future as we get the knowledge from you that how we had the scenario in the COVID-19 and other topics as we discussed. So I'm very much thankful to all of you, and it was a great time we had with you all. Thank you so much.
अच्छा वो नोएडा वाला Okay, so now we just do one thing. We record that video from Noida, and then we go to the Then we can do it in We'll get it recorded. Yeah. We just introduce ourselves, say that we are.
Institute of Engineering and Technology. Of engineering and technology.
No, we just say that hi, I'm Rafa, and then one of us can say I did, but they don't want me to say.
Can you say?
I mean, I can or I cannot be, it doesn't matter. Yeah. It matters, you know.
But you want to promote.
Yes, probably social media.
Advertise, I think to advertise the event around students and researchers.
If something is not working,
We just say that we are coming to the Noida Institute of Engineering and Technology for the ETBI series. Say the name of this one.
Yeah.
And their name of the conference is Emerging Technologies and Innovation.
Oh, without business intelligence?
Yeah, they announced it before.
Okay, not too much.
No, it's like.
Yeah, in my office. So,
Okay, we can check it in a moment.
No, the camera is still on.
Yeah, the phone.
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
बहुत बिल्कुल प्रॉब्लम नहीं
Connect with me on LinkedIn. Just send me an email. We can go to the same thing.
Thank you. Thank you. You?
Okay, sorry.